Hi, it's time to talk about the next few months of our play opportunities in the 21st Century Kindergarten classroom. I'm Hannah from 21stcenturyky.com, in case you didn't catch that. And I'm excited to share with you the next post about play. In this post, we're going to talk about the months of December, January, and February. In our last post, we talked a little about August, September, October, and November. But at this point in the school year, my kids are really starting to get involved and get on board with the whole we all have a big project idea. We've done a few culminating activities by this point in the school year, and they're really starting to see how we can work together as a team, how everybody has different roles, and they're understanding that process of planning and executing and adding to their play. And so in December, we start to add in some content. There have been lots of ways to connect to the standards prior to this, don't get me wrong, but I really wanted to pull in kind of some technical stuff through the middle of the year to give my kids opportunities to learn about things by experiencing them rather than me just telling. And so in December, to sort of avoid the focus of holiday, but yet kind of bring a hint of the holidays, we do a gingerbread theme. Just sort of overarching. We have some other little lessons here and there. We do talk a lot about economics and consumerism, and over the course of the play experience in December, that sort of starts to come in, and I can add some of those opportunities as we go. We do some culminating experiences with some units of study with that, but for the most part, our play experiences are about gingerbread houses as a theme, but as far as content goes, it's about engineering and building and homes. We have a story that we read that's all about all different homes around the world and how they're made of different materials, and that's because the climate wherever you live affects what type of home you need. If you live in a place that is 70 to 80 degrees year round, you may not even need windows in your house. If you live in a place that's ice and snow, you're going to need some good insulation. And so one of the next generation science standards is about providing cover from the elements, to simplify it. And so I've created a unit of study about the gingerbread family and how they're in the search for a new place to live, and different members of the family suggest different locations, but their house made of candy just can't withstand the elements, so they end up staying in Candyland. But the idea is that kids can create and build homes or dwelling structures, however you want to look at it, and they can think about where that would be most appropriate, why the building material they choose is important, and just sort of about that engineering process, thinking about the parts of something, thinking about creating something that solves a problem, and in this case, the problem is the weather or the climate. So that's sort of what we're studying through the gingerbread unit, with incorporating science and incorporating engineering. And so for our play opportunities, the obvious center is the block center. I bring in new blocks at this point. Up until now, I've had Legos, little bitty Legos and big Legos. I may or may not have gotten out the wooden blocks at this point, but definitely if I haven't by now, I'll bring them out. I also have a set of Lincoln Logs that we pull in, and a set of really great bamboo blocks that just come with some cylinder type pieces and some flat pieces that they can build something really cool out of. I try to add to it every year, to those opportunities, and so they have all these different building materials, and they have a planning page where they plan out their house and why they're building this type of house. in with my gingerbread unit, there are little cutout gingerbread men that they can color and put in their house after they've built a dwelling. Also, I try to provide some recyclables so that they could, build something out of that, because there are certainly materials that kids are capable of handling and creating. If they need tape, I give them tape. If they need staples, I help them with a stapler, and they can build things that way as well. Some kids are more artistic and they would just prefer to draw a design for their house, and so I provide templates of blank gingerbread houses, and they can draw on candy and do the fun way too, if they choose to do that way. On the computers, there are some really, really great websites with fun ways to decorate gingerbread houses. I know that there's a game at the Jan Brett site that has all the different pieces of candy and icing that they can click and drag and put on the house, and I'll project one of those games on the smartboard, and then have other opportunities at the small computers for kids to play and build that way. And then in the Dramatic Play Center, I pull out all the stuff from the months before, and I head to the appliance store and get some big old boxes, and I partition off or build up a kid-sized gingerbread house out of boxes, and then just give them whatever medium they want, whatever decorating things they want, and that house is theirs. And it can get pretty gaudy, but it stays up through the holiday season, and they can draw on it, they can add to it, they can glue. If they need to build an awning, we build an awning. But it gives them an opportunity to build and decorate on a little bigger scale, and it's just fun. And sometimes you just need to build something out of a box, and that's tons of fun. So I provide that opportunity for them. So we're hitting on some artistic standards, some engineering standards, and we're sneaking in a little bit of the holidays too. Toward the end of December, I also have a couple of really great units on economics, and those are directly related to the holidays, which I know some schools don't put an emphasis on, but I work in a really wonderful small town community where everybody knows everybody, and we can kind of sneak some of that stuff in, but it is very, very standards based, just with a little bit of a holiday theme. In January, we take those engineering concepts to the next level, and we talk about force and motion. So our January theme is a lot about manipulating things to put something in motion. I put up a lot of the blocks and leave out some of the wooden blocks along with some vehicles so that they can practice making ramps. I have a set that is ramps and balls, where they put the ramps up and they can run the balls down. They can use books or whatever else it is that they want to build, but really they are just experimenting in a very student-driven way about how things move, why things move, and then we sort of talk about them in terms of our science standards through the course of our studies during the rest of our school day. I have 2 or 3 different marble runs, and they can play with the marble runs and watch about the motion of the marble, and they can set up the pieces to build different things. There are also some really great online games about force and motion, where you have a little ball and you have to build the ramp up so that the ball lands at a certain place, and they learn that if you put it too steep, it's going to go too fast, too low, and it won't go far enough. And then I also provide them with a whole slew of magnets and objects, and they work on force and motion in terms of magnets, because magnets have a force. They also put things in motion when they pull them. So in January, when we come back from Christmas, And I really feel like that's the most focused learning time. And they really, for some reason, kindergartners and first graders too, really mature over the Christmas break. And so it's a really great time to sort of catch them at that point and put them in situations where they're controlling their learning and they are making discoveries for themselves. I don't have to teach a lesson on what is force and what is motion with them not having any background knowledge. When I put these experiences out for them and they get to do this stuff, when we come back together for our science time or our writing time, or we're reading a story about it, then they have something to draw from. And it's reciprocal. They draw from it. And so their learning is deeper when we have sort of, an academic lesson about the concepts. But then they're able to take what I teach them there back to their play, and it sort of elevates their level of experimenting and their level of understanding as they play. So January, really science focused. Force and motion are in the kindergarten standards for the next generation science standards. It was something that we hadn't really covered before as kindergarten teachers in science, and so we just really found this as a good way to bring in the elements of play and also get those concepts across in a way that's appropriate for a kindergartner. In February, we sort of dial everything back to what I consider to be more normal type play centers. And then in February, everything is about communication again, sort of similar to October, but we have a post office. I can't help it. It's Valentine's Day. Everybody loves making cards for other people and writing messages. And so I put some stamps, some little pretend stamps out where they can draw their own stamps and cut and glue. Who knew, but 5 and 6 year olds and a box of envelopes, it's like you've given them $1 million. I mean, $1 box of envelopes from the dollar store, they are in heaven. They love to put stuff in them and seal them and give them to somebody and reopen them. And letter writing is kind of a lost art anyway. So it's really great to bring that about. And we talk about giving letters to other people, communicating in that way. And we talk about the actual post office. I got some great printables from TPT. One of them is a really super cute one that looks like a postman's hat. And they can put it on a strip of construction paper and wear a little headband so they look like the postmaster. We bring out the aprons again because they need to work. We get stamps out where they can stamp and sort the mail. I pull out the scales and I bring in a bunch of boxes and they can package stuff up and weigh it and put postage on it and pretend to deliver or whatever else it is they need to do. I was super proud of my kids. The last time we did this, they started making little mailboxes for themselves and attaching them to the back of their chairs, or building little things out of paper and putting them on their desk, and they could give messages to each other in that way, or they chose to take messages to other people in the school. It really got them writing, and at this point in the year, they're ready for a heavier focus on writing, and it really good to have some opportunities for some student choice with their writing and for them to have an authentic audience. So really, the academic theme there would be the writing and communicating, because I'm really trying to expand their ability to write beyond single words or labeling, and we're getting into sentences and putting together longer stretches of writing. So that's really the focus through the post office center. At the computer centers, I let them open Word and they type, pretending to type emails, pretending to type letters, and they just go to town on those keyboards. I pull back out the keyboards that are not even attached to computers and let them pretend with those, and they absolutely love it. When they start to get a little better at it, I'll show them the different fonts and the way to change the color of their font, and they can do that within Word as well. And then there's my friends over in the Block Center, and it's been a while since they've been able to just play Legos, and so I pull those back out and put those opportunities there for them if they don't choose to play post office. And I do find it interesting that when centers are new, everybody wants to do the new stuff. But sort of after things settle down a bit, they tend to kind of go where they're comfortable. But then there are certain days where the planning and play gets involved, and times where the majority of the class is involved in one scenario of play. And it sort of ebbs and flows like that over the course of the month. And so it's really a great thing by February of the school year to see that I'm able to really start to weave in those academic standards through that middle section of the year. They've gotten a lot of the social aspect down, and they're really good at planning their play, and then I can start to put that content in there and put those experiences out there for them to make their own discoveries and really guide their own learning about certain academic topics through that midpoint of the year. Next time we're together, we'll talk about the last 3 months of the year and how we sort of culminate all this play in the months March, April, and May.